let's bring in Chris Hall, our former national affairs editor. He's now a managing principal at Navigator. He's in Ottawa, and I'm doing a double take because how many conversations have we had over the years with you in this chair? But anyways, fantastic to have you with me. Thanks for coming in this morning, Chris. It's great to see you.
Really glad to be here, Heather.
It's not quite stable. We might take a quick look at our camera position there in the hallway. We're waiting for cabinet ministers, Chris, to arrive on the Hill. And as I mentioned, the first meeting of this new sitting, we may see some dejected faces, but what are we likely to hear? What is likely to be the talk at the Liberal cabinet table after Montreal?
It's a really interesting question. It will not be a happy meeting. That is a guarantee, because this is one of those safe seats like Toronto, St. Paul's. The Liberals should not have lost. I expect you'll hear that it was a good dry run for a general election, and it's just an opportunity for voters who are unhappy with the government to express that. But this is really significant. This is a not only long-held Liberal riding, it's a breakthrough for the Bloc Québécois in the southwest of Montreal, where they have really never held a seat or had much sway. So that's a breakthrough. A little tiny patch of light blue surrounded by red. So a big day for them. The Liberals, I think, now need to ask some questions. It's not whether Justin Trudeau needs to go. I expect the question should be, why should he stay? Because at this point, it's clear that in long-held Liberal ridings, two of them, very significant ridings and by-elections, they have not had the results they wanted. And even in Elmwood-Transcona, the vote there for the Liberals was way down from the past general election in 2021. There's some serious reckoning to do about what can be done to turn around the Liberal fortunes at this point, with an election no more than a year away, and perhaps after today, even sooner.
Oh, to be a fly on that wall, then, to listen in as that pressure goes up. Let's talk about the Bloc for a moment. We're going to hear from Yves-François Blanchet at 10:30 this morning as he talks about what he defined as historic. As you mentioned, unusual. This is an English-speaking riding, largely too, which is interesting, or a lot of English-speaking voters. He said the victory is historic. All of Quebec will speak with a stronger voice in Ottawa. I'm just wondering, what do you think? He's holding the balance of power now. How do you think he's going to wield this, Chris?
I think he will use it as a bludgeon. Anytime the Liberals now want to try and get something through the House of Commons, it will be done through the frame of whether the Bloc Québécois sees as advantageous for Quebec. I know the NDP can still vote against any kind of confidence motions, but now I think the Bloc Québécois has an opportunity to really flex its muscles, because Quebec is very important to the Liberals, any real general election campaign. The Parti Québécois is strong again provincially. So there are a number of issues that the Bloc has put forward as ones that they think need to be addressed, including changes to old age security so they don't penalize people younger than 74, more demands around supply management and protection of those quotas for dairy and poultry producers. So there are other issues around which he now can say, if you want our support, this is what you must do. One other thing, Heather, I suspect that today Yves-François Blanchet is looking at the tea leaves and thinking, I may not need to wait another year to be able to capitalize on support for the Bloc. Maybe we should be much more aggressive in terms of the demands, or being willing to support an opposition motion from the Conservatives, because we know there's going to be one that expresses non-confidence in the government.
That's interesting, although he did say if it's a carbon tax election, he won't be supporting that.
Correct.
So
yes,
hard to know
true.
On all of that. Can I just ask you quickly, because I still do want to cover Conservatives and NDP. Janice raised something that you just touched on, and that is the surging Parti Québécois provincially. Do you think we're going to be dealing with national unity questions, sovereignty questions now?
I absolutely think that's the case. Remember, we thought it was dead, the sovereigntist movement back in 2015, but clearly it's not. The Parti Québécois' fortunes obviously rising. And with this victory, I don't want to overstate too much what a by-election win means, but given where it is, and given that this is a campaign around which a vision for Quebec will have to be expressed in the future, the Liberals now really have a stronger opposition in the Bloc Québécois, who I think will be far more assertive as the weeks and days pass or approach.
Okay. I only have time for one more question. So what I'm going to do is put two parties in one question. So there's the NDP in Elmwood-Transcona. Winning that, as they had to do, they set that as their stakes. How might that relate to their decision to rip up the supply and confidence agreement? And the Conservatives who tried to take that riding but didn't, what is the message to the Conservatives, and how might that affect things for them in terms of their sense of timing?
It clearly suggests that the work they're doing to reach out to blue-collar unionized workers has not yet been finalized. This is a very blue-collar riding, Elmwood-Transcona in the northeast of Winnipeg. So clearly they have some work to do to get their message across. And for Jagmeet Singh, yeah, I think he'll look at this as being a seat that was saved in large part because he's now distinguished the NDP from the Liberals and is trying very hard to show that the NDP is the real opposition if the Conservatives are this far ahead in the polls as we approach a general election.
Okay, thank you so much for coming into our bureau in Ottawa. Looking forward to our next conversation, Chris.
Thanks, Heather.
Appreciate it. Managing Principal at Navigator, Chris Hall in Ottawa.